The night my sister mocked my job, the sky over our parents' house was soft and quiet, the kind of evening that should have felt peaceful. But inside that dining room, something shifted in me I didn't recognize yet. And it all started with one sentence. She looked me straight in the eye, smirked, and said, "Love doesn't build wealth, Harper. But I guess you'll learn that too late." I felt something in my chest drop. Not break, not crack, just drop, like a stone falling into deep water. Before I tell you what happened next, let me say this: if you've ever been underestimated by your own family, keep listening. And if you're new here, subscribe, because these stories are real, raw, and they hit where it hurts. I wish I could say her words didn't bother me. I wish I could say I brushed it off. But the truth? They stayed with me. Like a bruise you don't notice until someone touches it. It was a family dinner, the kind where everyone dresses too nicely for food that tastes average at best. My sister, Brooke, had just returned from some luxury trip with her fiancé, Ethan, a man who loved the sound of his own voice almost as much as he loved the money he didn't actually earn. Mom poured wine. Dad carved the roast. Brooke talked about her life like she was being interviewed on national television. Then she turned to me. "So, Harper," she said, swirling her glass, "how's the little nonprofit job? Still paying, feelings instead of money?" Mom laughed. Dad hid a smile behind his napkin. I forced a breath. "It's going well. We're expanding this year." Brooke raised an eyebrow. "Expanding? With what? Hope? Manifestation?" Ethan chuckled under his breath. "And your boyfriend," she added, "the teacher, right? Cute. Stable. But sweetheart, love doesn't build wealth. You can't pay mortgages with affection." I felt heat rise in my neck. I could have defended myself. Could have defended him. Could have snapped back. But I didn't. Because deep down, I already knew Brooke wasn't trying to start a conversation. She was trying to put me in my place. The place she thought I belonged. Second. Smaller. Less impressive. Less worthy. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur. Brooke talked about her diamond ring. Ethan talked about crypto. Mom talked about their upcoming engagement party. No one talked about me again. When I finally got to my car, I didn't cry. Not even a little. I just sat there gripping the wheel while one thought repeated in my head over and over like a pulse: she thinks I'm a joke. That was the night something cold and quiet settled into my bones. I didn't know it yet, but it was the beginning of a very long, very silent revenge. Because Brooke wasn't wrong about everything. Love doesn't build wealth. But discipline does. Focus does. Refusing to be underestimated does. And 2 years later, the woman who mocked my job was about to choke on the truth she never saw coming. Because I wasn't the same Harper she laughed at that night. Not even close. The months after that dinner felt strangely quiet. Not peaceful, quiet. Not healing quietly. Just a silence filled with every comment my sister had thrown at me over the years. Nonprofit isn't a real career. Passion doesn't pay the bills. You're wasting your potential. Your boyfriend's sweet, but he's not the kind of man who gets ahead. Her words played on a loop, like she had carved them into the back of my mind with a smile on her face. And the funny thing is, she wasn't entirely wrong. Back then, I really wasn't ahead. I wasn't wealthy. I wasn't glamorous. I wasn't the daughter my parents bragged about at dinner parties. They talked about Brooke. They praised Brooke. They posted Brooke. They planned Brooke's engagement party, bridal shower, honeymoon, and future home. I was the, "Oh, she's doing something with charity work, I think. Daughter." They said my name less and less. And when they did, it sounded like an apology. But while they were busy pretending I didn't exist, something was happening behind the scenes, slowly, quietly, and far away from the noise of Brooke's perfect life. My nonprofit had momentum. Real momentum. We were building programs, getting grants, landing partnerships, seeing doors open that had always been locked before. And it wasn't glamorous. It wasn't loud. It wasn't Instagram-worthy. But it was meaningful. And more importantly, it was working. And while Brooke's fiancé loved pretending to be rich, I had something he didn't. A plan. During those quiet months, I learned how to run campaigns smarter. I learned how to manage money tighter. I learned how to write proposals that made executives say yes before their coffee even cooled. And then something unexpected happened, something small that turned into something huge. A letter arrived. A foundation wanted to fund our women's program. Not with a few thousand. Not even with 50,000. They offered a grant of $1. $2 million to expand statewide. I read that email 5 times, sitting alone at my tiny desk, hands shaking. Not because of the number, I could barely even process the number, but because I remembered Brooke laughing through her wine glass saying, "Cute. Stable. Love doesn't build wealth. Maybe not. But leadership does. Impact does. Consistency does." The kind of work she mocked was the same work that now had my name printed in bold letters at the top of a statewide publication: Program Director, Harper Lane Grant Awarded, $1,200,000. My inbox exploded. My board congratulated me. The city reached out. News outlets wanted interviews. But I said no to all of it. Not because I didn't want it. But because I wasn't done growing. This wasn't the peak. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even the end. It was the beginning. 2 years passed like that, slow, deliberate, quiet. While Brooke was busy posing for engagement shoots and planning destination bachelorette trips, I was building something of mine. Something real. I bought my first home. A small house. Nothing flashy. Nothing loud. But mine. I invested. I was saved. I doubled the grant through private donors. I earned promotions. I built a savings account that looked nothing like the "passion doesn't pay" narrative my family believed. And slowly, quietly, the silence around my name shifted. When my parents talked to their friends, they didn't call my work little anymore. Brooke didn't tease me at dinners. Even Ethan stopped smirking when I walked in the room. Because while they were all sleeping, I was building. And the best part? No one suspected a thing. Especially Brooke. She still thought I was the soft one. The naive one. The woman who lived on feelings instead of money. But she had no idea who I had become in those 2 years. And she definitely wasn't prepared for the day she saw it with her own eyes. Because the moment that put everything into place, the moment she realized love might not build wealth, but discipline does, was coming fast. And she never saw it coming. 2 years after that dinner, after Brooke's smirk and her "love doesn't build wealth" speech, life arranged something I never could have planned myself. It happened on a Saturday morning, warm, bright, harmless, the kind of day the universe likes to use for quiet revenge. I was heading to a fundraising gala. Not attending as a guest. Not volunteering. Not helping backstage like I used to. I was the keynote speaker. My nonprofit has grown into one of the top women's advocacy organizations in the state. We had 4 offices, 2,000 volunteers, and a reputation strong enough that corporations lined up to donate. And the board wanted me to tell the story. I wore a simple dress, navy blue, nothing extravagant. I still drove the same car, still lived simply. But that morning, I felt different. Not richer. Not louder. Just grounded. Halfway to the venue, my phone buzzed. It was my mom. "Harper, honey, are you free today? Your sister needs a favor." I almost laughed. "What kind of favor?" "She needs help with the catering for her engagement event tonight. Someone dropped out." Of course. Brooke didn't call me herself. She never did when she needed something. That was Mom's job, to soften the task. I can't, I said. I have a work event. Mom sighed. It's just your charity thing, sweetheart. Can't it wait? Just a charity thing. Old me might have swallowed the sting. But 2 years changed me. No, I said. It can't. Before Mom could respond, someone called her name in the background, a woman with a clipped, nasal voice. Brooke. Is Harper coming or not? She barked, like I was the help she hired on weekends. No, I said, loud enough for both of them to hear. I'm busy doing something real today. I hung up before she could respond. When I reached the venue, a wave of chatter and music washed over me. The place was grand, glass ceilings, white marble floors, chandeliers glittering like ice. The kind of place Brooke would kill to be photographed in. I slipped backstage and reviewed my notes, but before I could settle my nerves, the event coordinator rushed toward me. Harper. Your guests are here. My what? She pointed toward the entrance. I turned, and my stomach dropped. My parents. Brooke. Brooke's fiancé. 3 of Mom's friends. 2 of Dad's business partners. All dressed in expensive outfits, looking around like they had stepped into heaven. What were they doing here? I walked over cautiously. Mom rushed in first, smiling too wide. Surprise. Brooke told us you were doing a little speech tonight, so we came to support you. Brooke stood behind her, arms crossed, expression unreadable. A little speech. Of course. I forced a breath. How did you even know where this was? Brooke lifted a shoulder. Ethan's company is one of the sponsors. He got an invite. I figured, why not come see what you've been busy with? Could be cute. Cute. The same tone she used for puppies and cheap jewelry. Before I could respond, the coordinator walked up again. Mississippi Lane, you're up at 5. Your introduction is ready. My parents blinked. Brooke frowned. Ethan smirked, until the speakers crackled, and the announcer said, please welcome the keynote speaker of the evening. Harper Lane, Executive Director of the Women's Opportunity Network. Recipient of the 2023 State Impact Award. Every head turned toward me, including Brooke's. Her jaw actually dropped. Not figuratively. Not dramatically. Physically dropped. And in that split second, her eyes flicked from me, to the banner behind the stage, to the massive donor list printed along the walls. Where my nonprofit's name filled almost half the space. I didn't wait for her to process it. I walked up the steps, lights almost blinding, heart pounding in that good way, the way that tells you you're exactly where you're meant to be. The crowd quieted. I began to speak. Not with nerves. Not with fear. But with certainty I had never felt around my family. I talked about the programs we built. The women we helped. The lives that changed. I talked about the work Brooke called cute. The job she mocked. The little nonprofit thing she thought would amount to nothing. And when I finished, the room erupted. A standing ovation. The kind of applause that wraps around you and tells you that you made the right choices, even when no one believed in you. I stepped down from the stage, and faced my family. Mom's eyes were wide and wet. Dad looked like he had swallowed rocks. Ethan suddenly couldn't make eye contact. And Brooke. Brooke looked at me like she'd just seen a ghost wearing her future. She stepped forward, voice barely a whisper. Harper. Why didn't you tell us? I smiled gently, the kind of smile that isn't cruel, but isn't apologetic either. You never asked. Her expression shifted, confusion, disbelief, a hint of fear. Not fear of me. Fear of being wrong. Fear of realizing she wasn't the only successful one anymore. Fear of losing the role she had built her identity on, the golden child. And as I walked past her, heading toward the back exit, I didn't look back. Because I knew the moment she'd mocked my job was the moment she handed me the match. 2 years later. I had just shown her the fire. When the gala ended, people crowded around me, donors, executives, volunteers, women whose lives had changed because of the programs we built. But through all the voices, all the handshakes, all the congratulations, I could feel my sister watching me. Not with pride. Not with love. With something she wasn't used to feeling around me. Disbelief. Jealousy. And a fear she couldn't hide. Eventually, the crowd thinned, and I slipped into the hallway where the lights were dimmer, the noise softer. I needed a moment to breathe, to let my heart catch up with everything that had just happened. But footsteps echoed behind me. Brooke. She walked up slowly, like she wasn't sure if she had the right to come closer. Harper, she began. Her voice was different, smaller, stripped of the smugness she used to wear like perfume. I didn't know, she said. I didn't know you were doing all of this. I kept my expression neutral. You never asked. She winced, because she knew it was true. She looked down at her hands, twisting her engagement ring like she needed something to anchor herself. I shouldn't have said what I said that night, she whispered. The love doesn't build wealth. I was being, she swallowed hard. Cruel. I didn't respond. Not to save her. Not to punish her. Simply because. I didn't owe her words she hadn't earned yet. Harper, she tried again, her voice cracking a little, you're incredible. What you've built, it's real, I finished for her. Everything you thought I couldn't do. She nodded slowly, her eyes glassy. For a second, I saw the girl she used to be, before the competition, before the comparisons, before the pressure mom and dad put on her to be perfect. A sister who used to braid my hair and share her snacks. She opened her mouth again. I'm sorry. I believed she meant it. But that didn't erase what she had done. Apologies don't rebuild scorched bridges. They only acknowledge the smoke. I stepped closer, not hostile, not cold, just honest. You mocked my work, Brooke. You mocked my life. You mocked the man I loved because he didn't make 6 figures. I took a slow breath. And you did it because you thought the world only respects people who look successful. She blinked. I was wrong. Maybe, I said softly. But you weren't just wrong about me. You were wrong about what matters. She looked at me with a small, broken smile. I guess you really did show me. Yes, I said. I did. She took a shaky breath. Harper. Can we fix this? I want my sister back. It was a beautiful sentence, fragile, hopeful, honest. But healing isn't a switch. And forgiveness is not a reward. So I told her the truth. Maybe someday, I said. But right now. I just need space. She nodded, wiping her eyes quickly before the tears could fall. I understand. I walked past her, heels tapping gently against the marble floor. Behind me, her breath hitched, the sound of someone realizing life wasn't going to hand her everything anymore. Outside, the night air was cool and soft. The city lights glowed like new beginnings. I walked toward my car feeling lighter than I had in years. Not because I had money. Not because I had a title. Not because of standing ovations or donor dinners. But because I had built something no one could mock or take away. My life. My work. My worth. As I opened the door to my car, my phone buzzed with a new message. A number I didn't recognize. I frowned and tapped it open. Unknown number, Mississippi Lane, this is Attorney Rhodes. Please call me back. It's about your sister and her fiancé. Something urgent just came across my desk. I stared at the screen as the wind brushed against my face, the city humming in the distance. 2 years ago, Brooke mocked my life. Tonight, she watched me rise. But the message on my phone? That was something else entirely. Something darker. Something waiting. I slipped into the driver's seat, heart steady but curious. Because whatever came next, I was ready. And if you want to hear the next story, the next truth, subscribe. The family drama doesn't end here, it only gets deeper.